My parents took my nieces to Disney World, told my kids, maybe next year, for 5 years straight. I finally exploded. Before I continue with today's story, I'd love for you to support our channel. And while you're at it, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. I'm standing in my parents' driveway at 11 p.m., rain soaking through my jacket, staring at suitcases with Mickey Mouse tags still attached. My hands are shaking, not from the cold but from the rage burning through my chest like acid. My kids, Jayla and Marcus, are asleep in the car behind me, unaware that their grandmother just destroyed what was left of my trust. The tags read Kennedy and Skylar, my sister Rochelle's daughters. Another Disney trip. The fourth one this year. Meanwhile, my babies have been asking about Disney since Jayla was 5. She's 10 now. Marcus is 8. 5 years of maybe next year, baby. And Disney is so expensive, you understand, right? But here's the thing that made me drive across town in a thunderstorm tonight. I saw the photos. Not on Facebook where my mother carefully curates her image. No, my cousin Desiree accidentally sent them to our family group chat before quickly deleting them. 53 photos of my parents, Rochelle and her girls at Magic Kingdom. Matching family shirts. Character breakfasts. Fireworks. Caption. Making memories with our favorite princesses. My mother answered the door in her bathrobe, eyes wide with manufactured surprise. Naomi? What are you doing here so late? We need to talk, I said, my voice steadier than my hands. Right now. She glanced behind her nervously. Can this wait until morning? Your father's sleeping and... Did you just get back from Orlando? Her face went pale. The rain kept falling. And everything I'd swallowed for 5 years came rising up. My mother, Patricia, stepped aside reluctantly. The house smelled like her famous peach cobbler, the one she always made after their special trips. I used to think it was guilt baking. Now I know it's celebration baking. How much did this trip cost? I asked, standing in her pristine living room where my kids aren't allowed to eat snacks because they're too messy. Naomi, I don't appreciate your tone. How much, Mama? She crossed her arms. That's between your father and me. We worked hard for our retirement money. We can spend it however we want. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You spent $6,000. I know because Kennedy told Jayla about the Cinderella Castle suite. That's $1,500 a night, Mama. You stayed 4 nights. Plus park tickets, dining plans, souvenirs. My voice cracked. You spent more on one trip for them than you've spent on my kids in 5 years combined. Rochelle's girls are younger. They appreciate these things. Jayla was 5 when she first asked. Marcus was 3. My father appeared at the top of the stairs looking annoyed. Gerald Washington. The man who taught me that family comes first unless apparently you're me and my children. Why are you yelling in our house? He demanded. Why did you lie to my kids for 5 years? He descended the stairs slowly, deliberately. We didn't lie to anyone. We said maybe next year. Maybe never came. The casual cruelty of it knocked the air from my lungs. This man bought Marcus a $5 toy truck last Christmas while Kennedy got an American Girl doll collection worth $300. I should have seen the pattern years ago. But you don't want to believe your parents love your sister's children more than yours. You make excuses. You rationalize. You blame yourself. Flashback to 3 years ago. Jayla's 7th birthday. My parents showed up 40 minutes late with a grocery store cake, apologizing because they'd been busy. 2 weeks later, I saw Facebook photos of Kennedy's elaborate princess party at a venue that cost thousands. My parents were front and center wearing matching Princess Squad shirts. Or Marcus's kindergarten graduation. My parents didn't come because they had a prior commitment. That commitment, taking Rochelle's girls to a spa day. Every Christmas was the same. My kids opened modest gifts while Kennedy and Skylar tore through mountains of expensive toys. When Marcus asked why Santa brought his cousins iPads but he got socks, my mother said, "Santa knows what children need versus what they want." But tonight, standing in that living room watching my parents' faces harden with defensiveness rather than remorse, something crystallized. This wasn't about Disney. This was about worthiness. My children had been deemed unworthy of magic, memories, or money. "You told Jayla 3 months ago that you couldn't afford to help with her basketball camp fees," I said quietly. $85. "You said you were on a fixed income." My mother's jaw tightened. "That's different." How? How is it different? Rochelle needs our help. She's a single mother. I'm a single mother. The words echoed in the silent house. My father's face remained impassive. "Here's what they don't tell you about being the responsible child. You get punished for it." Rochelle got pregnant at 19, dropped out of college and has been finding herself ever since. She's 34 now, works part-time at a boutique and lives in the house my parents bought her, mortgage-free. I got my nursing degree while working full-time, paid off my student loans, bought my own house, raised my kids without asking for handouts. My reward? Being told I have it together and don't need help. Meanwhile, Rochelle needs help getting her nails done, help with car payments, help with her girls' private school tuition. And my parents provide it all, beaming with pride at how they're supporting her. "Call your sister," my mother said now, pulling out her phone. "She'll explain." "Explain what? That she's your favorite?" "I already know that, Mama." "That's not fair, Naomi. We love all our grandchildren equally." I pulled out my phone, scrolling through 5 years of evidence I'd been unconsciously collecting. Last Christmas, Kennedy and Skylar got gifts totaling $2,000. I know because Rochelle posted the haul. My kids got $200 total. That's math, not love. My father sighed heavily. "Those girls need. What do they need that my kids don't?" I interrupted. "Love. Memories. To feel like they matter to their grandparents." The silence was deafening. Then my mother said something that changed everything. "Maybe if you'd made better choices, we could do more for your children." Time stopped. Rain hammered the windows. And I finally understood. "Better choices?" I repeated slowly. "What does that mean?" My mother's face flickered with something like regret, but she pushed forward. "You know what I mean. Dating that man, having children before marriage." I was engaged. He died, Mama. Carlos died in a car accident when I was pregnant with Marcus. That wasn't a choice. The words tasted like ash. Carlos. My fiancé, my love, the father who never got to meet his son. We'd been planning our wedding when a drunk driver ran a red light. I'd spent Marcus's entire first year drowning in grief while simultaneously trying to keep Jayla, who was 3, from falling apart. My parents came to the funeral. They sent one casserole. Then they told me I needed to move forward and not burden them with my problems, because they were dealing with Rochelle's second pregnancy, unplanned, from a man whose name she couldn't remember. But Rochelle's situation was complicated. Mine was a choice. "That was 7 years ago," my father said dismissively. "You've had time to find someone else, get stable." "I am stable. I'm a charge nurse making $80,000 a year. I own my home. My kids are honor students." My voice broke. "What more do I have to do to make you see them as worthy of your love?" My mother looked away. "You're being dramatic. We do love your kids." "Then why don't you show it?" She had no answer. The clock ticked. And I realized there was no answer that would make this better. I opened my phone's notes app. A document I'd been keeping without consciously deciding to. 5 years of data. Birthdays missed. Calls not returned. Promises broken. Jayla's 9th birthday. You promised to take her to the aquarium. You canceled because Kennedy had a dance recital. Marcus's 6th birthday. You said you'd come to his party. You didn't because you were taking the girls shopping for school clothes. In August. His birthday is in March. I scrolled faster, my voice gaining strength. 2 years ago, Jayla needed glasses. $200 after insurance. You said you couldn't help. That same month, you bought Kennedy a puppy. A designer puppy. For $1,500. That was a different situation, my mother protested. Marcus needed braces. The orthodontist said the earlier we start, the better the outcome. $3,500. You said it wasn't essential. 6 months later, you took Rochelle's girls to Disney for the second time. $6,000. How is my son's medical care less essential than vacation number 2? My father stood up. You need to leave. Now. Why? Because I'm finally saying what we all know is true? You have favorite grandchildren and mine aren't them. That's not, my mother started. It is true. I shouted. And the worst part? My kids know it. Jayla asked me last year why Grandma and Grandpa don't love her like they love Kennedy. She was 9 years old, crying in my arms, asking what's wrong with her. What did I tell her, huh? That nothing's wrong? That's a lie. The front door opened. Rochelle stood there, Kennedy and Skylar behind her. All 3 still in their Disney pajamas. Perfect timing. Of course she had a key. Why are you screaming at Mama? Rochelle demanded, rushing to our mother's side like a protective shield. I stared at my sister. My beautiful, irresponsible, perpetually coddled sister. We look alike. People always said so. Same dark skin, same full lips, same natural curls. But somewhere along the way, our parents decided she was the daughter who needed protection, and I was the one who needed to be strong alone. Did you know? I asked her. Did you know they've been telling my kids, maybe next year, about Disney while taking yours 4 times? Rochelle's face flushed. That's not my fault. They offered. Did you know my kids ask about it? Did you know Jayla has a Disney savings jar with $17 in it that she's been adding to for 3 years? Kennedy, 9 years old and sharp as her mother should be, piped up, Jayla could come with us next time. Kennedy, hush, Rochelle snapped. Then to me, you're jealous. You've always been jealous that Mama and Daddy help me. Help you. They enable you. You're 34 with no career, no savings, no plan. I'm finding my path. For 15 years? While I worked doubles as a nursing student with a toddler. While I mourned my fiancé alone because you needed Mama to help with your crisis of the week. The room crackled with tension. Skylar started crying. My mother comforted her immediately, shooting me a look that said I was the villain here. And that's when I knew, nothing I said would matter. I was the strong one. I'd always be the strong one. And strong ones don't need love. You want to know the real issue? Rochelle said, her voice dripping with venom. You're bitter because you have to do everything alone. But that's not our fault. That's your life. The cruelty landed like a slap. My mother should have intervened. My father should have stopped it. They didn't. Instead, my mother said, Rochelle, don't be mean, in a tone that suggested I'd driven her to it. Something snapped inside me. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet breaking like ice cracking on a frozen lake. You're right, I said calmly. This is my life. A life where I work 50-hour weeks to provide for my kids. Where I budget every dollar because no one's buying me a house or paying my bills. Where I teach my children about hard work and resilience because their grandparents teach them about disappointment. I turned to my parents. But here's what you need to understand. I'm done. Done explaining. Done hoping. Done watching my babies' faces fall every time you choose Rochelle's kids over them. Don't be dramatic, my father said. Dramatic? Jayla has a list, Daddy. A list of things Kennedy has that she doesn't. Not because she's materialistic, but because she's trying to figure out why her grandparents love her cousin more. She showed it to her school counselor. The counselor called me, concerned about Jayla's self-esteem. My mother gasped. That's not our fault. It's exactly your fault. I exploded. You tell her maybe next year, while Kennedy gets yes to everything. You miss her games but never miss Kennedy's recitals. You criticize her hair, her clothes, her interests while calling Kennedy perfect. The accusations hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. There's something else, I said, my voice shaking but determined. Last month, Jayla's teacher nominated her for a leadership camp. Full scholarship except for the $200 activity fee. She asked if you could help. You said no because money was tight. I turned my phone around showing Facebook photos. This was taken that same week. You mama at the salon getting a $250 silk press. You posted about treating yourself. My mother's face went white. How dare you stalk my social media? It's public. You post everything except photos with my kids. Want to know something else? I went through your Facebook. 700 photos from the last 3 years. Guess how many include Jayla and Marcus? The silence was my answer. 14. 14 photos out of 700. But Kennedy and Skylar? They're in over 300. You take them everywhere. You post about them constantly. You treat them like they're your whole world. And my kids? They're occasional extras in your life. Rochelle shifted uncomfortably. Maybe if you weren't so angry all the time. I'm angry because my children are being traumatized. I shouted. Marcus stopped asking about Disney. He stopped asking to call you. He stopped expecting anything because expecting leads to disappointment. He's 8 years old and already learning that his family doesn't value him. My father stood up. That's enough. You're being disrespectful. No, you've been disrespectful. For 5 years. To 2 innocent children who only wanted to be loved by their grandparents. I grabbed my purse, done with this conversation. But then Kennedy said something that made me freeze. Grandma says Jayla and Marcus aren't really family because... Kennedy. Rochelle screamed, cutting her off. Because why? I asked, my voice deadly quiet. Finish the sentence, Kennedy. The little girl looked scared, realizing she'd said something wrong. My mother stepped forward, her face panicked. She's confused. She doesn't understand. Because what? I repeated, looking directly at my mother now. Rochelle grabbed Kennedy's hand, trying to pull her away. But my father surprisingly spoke up. Maybe he was tired of the lies. Maybe he wanted the truth exposed. Or maybe he just wanted me gone and thought honesty would accomplish that faster. Because they're not Rochelle's, he said flatly. Kennedy misunderstood something your mother said. She was talking about family dynamics, how Rochelle needs more support. And you said my kids aren't really family? The room spun. You told your grandchildren that their cousins aren't family? It was taken out of context, my mother cried. I said Rochelle's girls need to be the priority because Rochelle is struggling. And where was that energy when I was struggling? I demanded. When Carlos died. When I was working 3 jobs to finish nursing school. When I had a newborn and a toddler and no partner. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You were so strong. You didn't need us. I needed you desperately. I needed my mother. But you were too busy helping Rochelle, who got pregnant again 6 months after I became a widow. And somehow her choice was worthy of support. But my tragedy made me unworthy of it. The truth crystallized, ugly and undeniable. I wasn't being punished for being strong. I was being punished for not needing them in the way that made them feel important. Rochelle's constant crises gave them purpose. My competence made them unnecessary. And they resented me for it. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice eerily calm. You're not seeing my kids anymore. No birthdays. No holidays. No random visits. You're out. You can't do that, my mother shrieked. We have rights. You have no rights. You're grandparents, not parents. And grandparents who traumatize their grandchildren don't get access. My father's face turned red. You're being vindictive. Using the children as pawns. I'm protecting them. From people who make them feel worthless. From people who tell others they're not really family. I never said that, my mother insisted, crying now. Kennedy misunderstood. Maybe. Or maybe she understood perfectly and said the quiet part out loud. I headed for the door. Either way, we're done. When Jayla asks why we don't see you anymore, I'll tell her the truth. That you showed us who you are and I finally believed you. Rochelle followed me outside. You're overreacting. Mama didn't mean it like that. I turned on her, 5 years of resentment boiling over. You know what? I've spent my whole life making excuses for you. For them. Telling myself family is complicated. But family isn't supposed to be this hard. Family isn't supposed to make you feel like you're begging for crumbs of affection. You've always thought you were better than me, Rochelle spat. No, I thought we were equal. I was wrong. Not because I'm better, but because Mama and Daddy decided you were worth investing in and I was worth enduring. I got in my car where my babies still slept peacefully, unaware that I'd just burned down our family. As I drove away, I saw them all standing in the doorway. My parents looking shocked, Rochelle looking victorious, and Kennedy looking confused. I cried the whole way home. Not for what I'd lost, but for what I'd never really had. The next morning my phone exploded. 67 missed calls. 43 text messages. My mother. My father. Rochelle. Even Kennedy's godmother, Auntie Lorraine, who I barely knew. The messages followed a pattern. I was cruel. Dramatic. Keeping children from family. Using kids as weapons. Making everything about me. Only 2 people broke the pattern. My cousin Desiree and my friend from nursing school, Tamara, who's been watching this play out for years. Desiree, I should have sent you those photos on purpose. I'm sorry I waited so long. You're doing the right thing. Tamara, 5 years too late, but I'm proud of you. Those babies deserve better. I sat my kids down after breakfast. Jayla looked at me with those 2 wise eyes, and Marcus clutched his stuffed bear. The one I bought him because my parents said he was too old for toys at 6. We need to talk about Grandma and Grandpa, I started. They don't like us, Jayla said matter-of-factly. It's okay, Mom. We figured it out. My heart shattered. Baby. Kennedy told me they'd pay for her private school and her dance classes and her summer camp. They told her they can't help us because you make enough money. She shrugged, trying to look unbothered. It's whatever. It's not whatever, baby. It's not okay. And I'm sorry I let it continue for so long. Marcus climbed into my lap. Are we not seeing them anymore? Not for a while. Maybe not ever. And I need you both to know, this isn't your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. They're wrong. They failed you. And I failed you by not protecting you sooner. Jayla's eyes filled with tears, the first real emotion she'd shown. Why don't they love us like they love Kennedy and Skylar? I don't know, baby. But it's not about you. It's about them. And their inability to love all their grandchildren equally says everything about them and nothing about you. We spent that Sunday together, just us 3, eating pancakes and watching movies. And for the first time in years my kids seemed lighter. As if the absence of hope was less painful than the presence of constant disappointment. 6 months have passed. My parents tried everything. Surprise visits, I didn't answer the door. Guilt trip texts, I blocked them. Flying monkeys, I shut them down. Rochelle posted on Facebook about bitter people who weaponize children. I didn't respond. But here's what did happen. Jayla joined a theater program. Marcus started piano lessons. We went on a modest vacation. 3 days in a cabin in the mountains, nothing fancy. But it was ours. No comparisons. No disappointments. Just us. Last week, Jayla came home with an essay she wrote for school titled, What Family Means. She defined family as people who show up, not people who share blood. Her teacher gave it an A+ and asked to submit it to a district competition. My mother somehow heard about it and sent a long text about how she was proud of Jayla's writing skills. I didn't respond. Because here's the truth, I don't hate my parents. I don't even hate Rochelle. But I refuse to let my children grow up believing they have to earn love. Love isn't earned. It's given freely, or it's not love at all. Do I wish things were different? Sometimes. Late at night, I grieve the grandparents my kids should have had. The family we could have been. But mostly I'm grateful. Grateful I finally stopped accepting crumbs. Grateful my kids will grow up knowing their worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. Grateful we're building our own version of family. One that includes Desiree, Tamar, and others who choose us. Last Saturday, Marcus said, Mom, are we going to Disney next year? I paused, then smiled. You know what? We might. Not because anyone else is going, but because you deserve it. Both of you do. His face lit up brighter than any Magic Kingdom fireworks. And I realized, this is the magic. Not the destination, but the love that gets you there. The love that was always enough. The love we've always deserved. We're building something new now. Something better. Something ours. And maybe that's the real happily ever after. Choosing yourself when no one else will. Teaching your children that walking away from toxicity isn't giving up. It's growing up. The Disney savings jar has $43 now. We're in no rush. We'll get there when we're ready, on our own terms, with our own money. And when we do, those memories will be ours alone. Untainted by comparison or conditional love. That's the ending I'm writing for us. Not the one they chose, but the one we deserve. And somehow that's even better than I imagined.